Hello and welcome everybody to tonight's new installment in the series of The Adventures of the Unsinkable Alice Baker. Music from a Darkened Room, Part 5. Alice has returned from hospital. She's had a very intense 2 days of researching. You've discovered that 1206 Spooner was first built by the Whelan family, and Mr. Whelan, Michael Whelan, died 4 years after they'd moved in, and his wife had fallen ill in the meantime, but suddenly made a very miraculous or remarkable recovery under the auspices of Adele Di Vitello, an Italian nurse who came to live with her. And she lived for a very long time after her husband had died. She didn't die until 1881. And then, since then, 15 different people or families have owned the house, and there have been plenty of deaths in the house. There was a murder-suicide, there was somebody who died in a fire, someone else died from a gas leak, and of course two recent suicides, Arthur Donnelly, who we now know was killed by an entity, but also Alexandra Romanova, whose suicide is now being called into question, who's the current deceased owner on whose behalf Arthur was trying to sell the property. You also spoke at length to Sinead Murphy, who's the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter, who told you all about spirits, ghosts, whom she calls essences, and gave you a couple of tips, but also hinted at there might be something a lot more sinister going on at 1206 Spooner. And then you went to Elizabeth's antiques shop. Elizabeth's father and grandfather have been in the antiques business for the better part of 70 years, and they have actually bought stuff from the Whelan family, and amongst other things, a piano which he insists plays itself ominously.
We haven't confirmed that.
No, we haven't confirmed that.
Thank goodness.
And basically, you had hatched a plan. You were going to buy something made of wood, a small item, so that you could see, could it be destroyed? That didn't work out, but you were able to destroy a much larger, much more expensive piece, namely a mirror. And then you also found a diary, probably by Adele Di Vitello, looking at it from the outside and reading through it in Italian. And you have now hired you've hired an Italian-English translator named Laura Biagiotti, who's going to come to your place the next day, so tomorrow, or if we want to move in time, today, in the afternoon at 2:30, I believe, if I recall correctly. Anyway, it was in the afternoon,
Yep.
to get started on a translation.
Exactly. Really curious, but Matthew basically gave me her contacts, well, his secretary or assistant.
Yeah.
But
Back then they were still called secretaries.
she seemed to be a quite good one, a quite professional one, so I'm really curious. The thing is, we carefully need to explain her what not to do, because we don't want her to read out loud any weird ghost binding stuff.
As soon as
So
she
let's
gets
see.
to ihr Tool tragen, she shouldn't speak. Yeah.
Let's see. I think everything that looks like a rhyme or anything
saw a
like
rhyme
that. Yeah, we know at least
Yeah.
something is in there, but that she needs to be careful, as weird as it sounds.
You did find a rhyme. Well, it looked like a poem, which you can tell because it was indented, and it looked like the end vowels would rhyme, and it carried the title L'uomo negro, which you, with your ability to speak Latin and stuff, were able to
Something black.
interpret as the black man.
Yeah.
So we will see what this black man is going to do, or if it's anything to do with anything. This being Call of Cthulhu, it's probably a different name for the gardener, and
Possibly.
possibly. And so basically, then the day ended. You also have a date, a date for a dance with Matthew in the following week. So yeah, you've made plans. Your leg's not going to stop you from living the good life.
I need to get back out there, and with Matthew by my side, I'm not worried about having a limp. That is totally fine.
And you also made a couple of purchases to give to. So you have given Dottie a wonderful bottle green coat, which she loves, and you're going to gift Sinead a very lovely hat, because she wears a hat to hide her very, very red hair. But the hat is ugly, and she knows it, and she's just wearing it probably maybe because she can't afford a nice one. And so you have asked your milliner to come up with a really lovely creation, and she has, and you are going to give her a very, very nice hat as well.
The least I can do after all the information she gave us.
Yeah, as you also will recall, she was quite concerned for anyone's safety who goes near the house or goes inside. So she has actually stressed that the house itself and possibly the ground itself is evil.
Yeah.
So even just tearing down the house would probably not
help.
Stop whatever is going on there from happening again, or from continuing to happen.
The only good thing she gave us, if we can get rid of the evil ghost, it should probably be easy enough to get the others free as well.
Yeah. Okay, so the day pretty much ended there. You'll now probably have some dinner with probably leftovers from the day before.
Yeah.
And then the next day dawns. You get a nice breakfast, no porridge in sight. Very, very nice food. And then do you want to do anything special in the morning? I mean, you will be getting your newspaper delivered to your doorstep, as you always do, so you can read up on the latest gossip.
She will stay home just to be maybe at least a bit careful about herself. She just came out of the hospital nonetheless, so she would just stay at home. I think Dottie would be happy about that probably. And reading
Dottie's
from her
ecstatic.
paper, enjoying coffee, nibbling on a few bites of breakfast. I'm back to my habit that breakfast is coffee, and that's all I need. And
You get a glare from Dottie.
I get it every day.
Purpose to it.
It's like it is. And yeah, I'm just shifting through the papers as always to see is there anything interesting in someone is engaged or someone died or anything else that catches my eye.
Yes, people have died. Some of them from society functions you would have attended, because obviously you read a special kind of paper. But no interesting engagements, and it's a slow day in your area of news. And in other news, Rikers Island, people have been rioting in the prison, but that was the guards went in and everything was quiet after that. No more details, but you have a lovely and very vivid imagination.
I definitely do.
And yeah, so the weather is a little bit overcast today, although it's of course now, we started in May, so it's now June, but it's a little bit cold for June actually. Even if you were going out today, it would probably not be for outdoor activities, because today is kind of a nasty day. For lunch, there is soup and sandwiches, as usual.
Sounds good.
And then at 2 o'clock, there is a knock on. Somebody rings the doorbell, actually, because you do have a doorbell. And Dottie goes and answers it, and she brings in a lady who's about, she's in her late 20s, maybe a little bit older than you, but not by much. Very petite. Very dark hair and brown eyes, and a tan that doesn't look like it's just the sun. So she does have kind of like a little bit of a darker complexion. Maybe she's from southern Italy, who knows? And she comes in and she shakes your hand and she says, Miss Baker, I presume.
Miss Biagiotti, thank you so much for the quick service.
Not a problem. Well, it's how I earn my living. You wanted me to translate a diary.
Exactly. Just follow me, and
Yes.
I guess at least during the day, Alice would have prepared like probably the dinner table because there's space to just spread out, just preparing everything. The diary is sitting in the middle. Probably already like an empty cup next to that we can have coffee. And Alice will just sit on the opposite side, just pointing her to there's the book. As I said, the diary is not extremely big, but it's still around, I think, 30 pages. And
All right.
I would have probably weird request. If you find something that is rhyming, could you just translate like the first 3 or 4 words before you go on and give me a note?
As you wish.
That would be very lovely. Then some coffee and some water.
Thank you. Much appreciated. She sits down, she takes out a legal pad, a pen, a fountain pen, of course, back then, and some ink. So just in case she runs out, she's brought a little inkwell. And she basically takes the book, she opens it, so she leaves through it once, and then she opens it on the first page, which is actually the frontispiece, and she basically says, all right, this is a name, and she writes down on the paper, as you can see, frontispiece name, and then she simply writes down Adele Di Vitello, and she turns the page and she looks at it, and then she frowns and she says, this is very interesting.
So,
Are you sure that this is a diary from, like, this is very, 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 very old-fashioned Italian. We're talking 18th century here, so this is a very old book that you have here.
oh dear, what a nice surprise. We didn't know when we got it.
Oh yes, it is definitely it's very southern. It is it is definitely written in a very, very particular dialect, from Sicily, as a matter of fact. Some might even say that this isn't strictly Italian.
Oh boy, then I hope it's still translatable.
Well, it is absolutely translatable, but some people would say that this is very backwards and not really Italian, and it is very antiquated. I mean, not even my grandmother would have spoken like this. It is very old Italian, so
that is kind of
but you know, it's I'm just letting you know, so you may have a real treasure here with regard to the actual book, because it seems to be very old, although the book doesn't look that old. So yeah,
it doesn't, and it must have probably been from the late or mid. We don't know how old it is, but 1800 might be right. Also, I might warn you, it might contain gruesome stuff. We are not really sure. But the lady that is mentioned right in the beginning, we know she had a fable for witch devil things, and I'm not sure what is in this diary, to be honest.
Well,
just to
if
warn
she really
you,
is from Sicily, then a certain amount of superstition is not unusual.
Okay.
Like I said, it is a very rural place, and although everybody's very Catholic, local superstitions still abound today. I will do my best, and I will see what it says. And if I come across something that is odd, I will of course let you know immediately, and then you can make a decision if you would like me to continue translating or if you would rather stop.
Thank you so much. And Alice
Okay, so
will
she starts.
pull out a book and will, well, basically act as if she would reading, but she would very curiously just peek over regularly, although she's sitting too far away to read what is written down, because she knows it's not the way to just lean over and watch what they are writing.
You also notice that that Dottie seems to be very interested in the various bouquets of flowers that have been placed around the area. Like watering them, and you're thinking, okay, she's watered this vase 3 times now. So,
3 times now, and probably she stocked up like cookies together with the coffee already. Also, like we just sip and the coffee cup is filled up again.
Yeah. Dottie is also hovering. And so Laura is doing her work, and she's translating, and she basically writes quite quickly. She's a very quick writer, and so the pages fill up, and so she turns the pages, and she basically stops after about 5 pages and says, so far, just to give you a little bit of a summary, it seems like the person who writes this, who has written this particular or these pages, who refers to herself or himself as I, if we believe it's Adela, then it would be her, seems to be a nurse, and she moved into a house in New York where there was an American woman who was very ill, and she works for her and basically is a live-in nurse. Would that make sense to you?
That definitely sounds like what we know about Adele, so it really looks like it's her diary, that it's really then also from a time when she was already in the States.
Yes, there is no mention of Italy anywhere so far in these 5 pages.
Okay.
Good. So, shall I continue?
Yes, please, and thank you for the summary.
Good. So she keeps translating, and she drinks coffee and water, and then after a while she says, "May I use your bathroom, please?" So it's like 3 hours later.
Yes, sure.
Dottie's like, yes,
Dottie?
yes, if you follow me. Dottie has even stopped pretending that she's busy. She's just basically drawn up a chair and is sitting at the table.
Alice probably would have motioned her to at least pick up a book or something.
Let's see if she was perceptive enough.
Probably not. Although she's perceptive. When she wants to.
That's a 21. That should definitely be... Yeah. That's a hard success. She
Then?
definitely got your hint. And then Laura gets back and sits down again, and she works some more, and then she says, all right, now I've reached a place that you might want to not have translated, because it's a little poem.
Oh, is that weird looking page that we stumbled upon?
Well,
We're already suspecting it
it's called
looked
The
like
Black
writing.
Man.
Something with Negro, if we got it.
L'uomo negro, the black man. It's a children's. It reads like a children's rhyme. One of those where they basically, they all stand around in a circle and they hold hands, and somebody's walking around them. This kind of, and they're basically singing this rhyme, and then someone lays their hands on someone's shoulder and tags them, and then it's them. That kind of thing. Well, looking at it, it's a pretty innocuous thing. Well, I'm not gonna make it rhyme, obviously, but
It's translated.
The black man is running around. The black man is looking for us. The black man is running around. Let's invite him in. The black man is running around. The black man is looking for us. The black man is running around. Let's invite him in.
Stop,
You will
just
do our
stop,
bidding
stop,
if we are
stop,
nice.
stop, stop. Please don't read it completely.
Yes,
Just,
all right. So
just to
that's
be
the vein of it. It's
okay.
really simple Italian. It's like I said, it sounds very different from the rest of the voice that I'm reading here.
Is there
I don't
before
think this lady actually created this.
the question is before the poetry is written down, is there any like introduction on why this is in the book, or is it just out of the blue that the
Oh, I see what you mean. No, in on the previous page, she is detailing. It's a shopping list, really. She says she's going to need coal, and there's going to be chicken, and there's going to be um, yeah, that's a herb. I don't even know the English word for it.
what's the
Estragona. Tarragon, that's it,
mm-hmm.
tarragon. Um, and then, oh, and obviously she was very religious because she also wanted to buy incense. Um, yeah, so there's a shopping list here, so she was probably trying to, well, maybe make chicken with tarragon, who knows. And then basically this is followed by this verse.
If you could just Alice is like, should we ask to write it down or not? Should we ask it? Although probably you need to say it. Just skip the rhyme, and if you could just go on with the translation after the rhyme, I
All right,
think that
she
that would
turns
be
the page.
lovely.
She doesn't question any of your requests. She just
I'm
keeps
paying
on
enough
going.
money for that.
Yeah, that's true. She's a total professional. And so basically, then she keeps going. She says, "Well, actually, I misspoke when I spoke to you on the phone. I think I can actually finish this today. It
Oh,
translates quite quickly.
oh,
If you want
then
me to, I can stay on a little, unless of course you have plans for the evening, and then
I
I can
have
finish."
no plans, but we can also make sure you get a little bit of dinner. We
Oh,
have
that
dinner
that would
anyhow
actually
if
be
you want
very
to
nice. I
join.
am quite hungry. Yeah, absolutely.
Then let's do that, Dottie. So we will have one person more for dinner.
Um,
We can
Unlike
just
her
order
usual
something.
demeanor, which is basically when you say something like that, she's going to roll her eyes and tell you that she doesn't have enough food in the pantry. She doesn't even, and she gets up immediately, goes into the kitchen and starts cooking. She is as intrigued as you are. Okay, so basically, you have no idea what she's going to cook up, but you have no doubt that it will be lovely. And so Laura keeps translating, and then dinner is served. It's fish. Fish with broccoli and rice. So and in a very nice white wine sauce. So it's probably white fish. You take your pick. Sole. Let's say it's sole.
Yeah.
And then Laura is very she really enjoys the food. She says that this is really delicious, and most Americans cannot really make good fish. And then Dottie says, well, I'm not an American. And then Laura is like, oh, all right. And she then returns to her book and she keeps translating, and then she gives you the gist of what this book tells. So basically, after the rhyme, she says that the next entry is, it has worked. And then she just describes how this patient of hers has improved so much that she's now able to walk again and can go outside. And, then she talks about things like what the weather is like, and, and then it ends. It doesn't end in mid-sentence. It just ends. She just doesn't go on.
So there were empty pages.
There is one empty page.
Okay. What is like the last bit? about?
The last bit is indeed about about nothing in particular. We went to Central Park today and looked at the flowers. But it doesn't give a date, so, but it must have been, I mean, like spring, summer. Probably. Knowing Central Park, that's when it blossoms.
It sounds like so. Interesting. Well, thank you so very much for the translation. That definitely makes life a bit easier that we now know what is inside of that diary, because we were quite curious, because we only know bits and pieces about the nurse that took care.
Well, of course, I mean, here is your translation, and she hands you like a big ream of pages, and she says, and of course, you can read them at your leisure, they are yours.
What
and
a
if you have
beautiful
any other
handwriting.
questions, or if anything is unclear, or if you would like me to take a second look, you have my details.
I have
I
them.
will-
Might be that we stumble over more Italian things. Not sure yet. We are still sorting through things. So
That's fine.
if it happens. But thank you very, very much. This was so, so helpful. And Alice would have the money ready for
Oh, thank you very
Miss
much.
Biagiotti. And there's a bonus in there as well, because she did an amazing job. So
I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure working here. Thank you so much.
then let's call your cab that we can get
Thank
you
you.
home safe and sound. Dottie, could you just ring a cab for Miss Biagiotti?
Dottie nods and says, "Yes, of course, madam." And you can hear her call the cab, and the cab arrives very shortly afterwards. And Laura takes her leave and says goodbye to both of you, wishes you a good night, and then she walks out and closes the door behind her, and you can hear the cab drive off.
Dottie, I think it's time for a big... Not cup. My brain is empty.
Glass?
Kettle? Is it? No, it's not a kettle. Teapot. It's a teapot. It's just a teapot, right?
A pot of tea, yeah, sure.
A pot of tea. And then let's go through the writing and see what's in there in detail.
Okay, so she makes tea.
She makes tea. Alice starts reading, and every page that she's done, she puts over so Dottie can read it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So the two of you actually piece together the very mundane story that is told in this diary, because it's a diary. It talks about things like, doctor's visits, medication. Apparently she was taking large doses of opioids.
Mm-hmm.
So, because back then, of course, it was a lot easier to get this stuff. Laudanum was something that you could get if you knew the right doctors. And, so it's... but then also things like, somebody came to the house to fix a leak in the attic, really mundane stuff. So reading this doesn't give you any indication that there is anything occult in there until you get to this once off shopping list of a chicken, coal, incense, tarragon, and then the rhyme, of which you only have like the first 3 lines or 3 verses really translated. And then, of course, it continues with it's worked, she's better, and then how she's improving, and then how they are making all these, like trips around New York City. And then the last one, we went to Central Park today to look at the flowers.
So the only thing we really pull out that, yes, she definitely was nurse in the house. It really sounds like Miss Wheeler was severely sick. Yeah.
But also it's stated that different doctors gave different... the description is general fatigue, loss of muscle control, problems walking, problems speaking, memory impairment, an inability to keep your balance. So, a real general deterioration of the body and maybe the mind as well to a certain degree.
That definitely sounds like she was really sick, and it's surprisingly weird that she got well quickly. The shopping list and this rhyme, and then this, it worked, and she's better, basically tells us that our suspicions are not wrong. The only thing is the question if Adele really knew what she was doing, or if it was just more like, I heard from my grandma that it worked, so I'm giving it a try. It reads more like it was a blind guess to see if it helped.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't say, well, back in the old country, I used to do this and it always worked, so now I'm going to try this here. But
And it's not that the whole diary is like witchy, demon, spooky stuff. It reads mostly like a diary. Dottie, I think tomorrow we would need to see if your friend Sinead maybe has a few minutes for us.
will I ring her now and find out?
If it's not too late for her, yes.
She looks at her watch and she's like, Anna, it's 12:15. That's not too late for her. She...
Whenever she has time, if she would love to visit us maybe for lunch, coffee, whenever it fits
I'll
for
give her a
her.
ring. So she picks up the phone, she rings, she talks to Sinead for a second. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, no, lunch. Soup and sandwiches. Yeah, great. See you tomorrow. Hangs up. She'll be here for lunch tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Then we can also give her the hat.
She's gonna love it.
It will look really nice. And I hope the hair should all fit under the hat without any issues.
You see, I always told her that it's ridiculous for her to hide her hair because many
It's
women would
beautiful.
kill to have her hair. I don't
It's
understand
really
why she's
beautiful.
hiding it, but hey.
But it's standing out. That is definitely
That
something.
is true. She does stand out like a sore thumb. But hey. So I think I'm going to go to bed now because it is quite late and
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I honestly think Alice would have something like a safe in the house. Wouldn't she?
if you say so, then you do. Well,
I
we're
think she
talking
would.
about this anyway, that you had a place somewhere in your bedroom where you kept stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. If you say that you've got a safe, then you have a safe.
I
that's
think she
fine.
would have a safe for a few important things.
Yeah, sure.
In a city house in New York. Yeah, I think the money would be enough for having something like that. So she would lock the diary away. Not the translation. She would just put that on her desk. But the diary she will lock away in the safe just to be safe and sound. And then she will do her usual tour through the house to see is everything locked, everything closed down, and then she will go to bed as well.
Everything's locked and closed down, and then you go to bed, and you go to sleep, and you wake up the next morning, 7 o'clock. You know it's 7 o'clock because Dottie always starts making breakfast at 7 o'clock, and you can hear her downstairs in the kitchen. And you know that in about 15 minutes she's going to show up and tell you to rise and shine.
I will turn around and just pull probably the blanket over my head for a few more minutes. Just waiting for it, because it would be really weird for me to already be up when she comes in. That would be... No, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong. She opens the door, as is her wont, and she says, "Good morning, Miss Baker. Rise and shine, madam. It's another gorgeous day." And she pulls back the blinds or the curtains, I should say. And it's not a gorgeous day because it's actually a very dull day. And she says, "Well, it's not really sunny, but it's June, so you have to behave as if it was June. So do get up." And she goes outside again and she says, "And breakfast is ready when you are."
Thank you, my dear. I will just need a few minutes. And she will just stretch And she will take her time to get a bit of water in her face, just throwing over her morning gown. And then she will walk downstairs, grabbing a coffee, the newspaper, and just sitting down on a chair. Probably putting feet up on the other chair, just leaning back, and we'll start the day quite relaxed.
Yeah, Dottie has placed food in front of you and coffee. She's not even expecting you to eat anything. Maybe more, maybe crumble up some toast.
Yeah,
with,
I'm just eating like more just a few bites, and I'm more focused on coffee and reading the papers. And again, would look if there's anything interesting that jumps to my eye. I hope not.
There isn't really anything going on,
Right.
which may be a good thing because you have plenty of stuff on your plate.
Exactly. So after that, after she read through, she would look at the clock, and not too early. I think around maybe rather if it's around maybe 10, shortly before 10, she would try to give Ronald, or the sergeant this time, because she would ring him at work. She would call the sergeant and see if he is in.
He is. He answers the phone.
Baker here.
Oh, Miss Baker, how are you? How do you do?
Good morning. I am doing fine. I hope you are as well.
Yes, I can't complain.
That sounds good. I just wanted to give you a short update on the translation, on the diary we found.
Oh, yes, of course. So what have you learned?
Well, it definitely seems to be the diary of the nurse that took care of Miss Wheeler, and Miss Wheeler definitely sounds horrible sick in the descriptions. Let's say 99% of the diary is really a woman's diary. She's writing about beautiful day, about flowers, about going out in the park, about not really interesting stuff. But there's one part where she, just out of the blue, has a shopping list in there. Although I'm not sure
Shopping
for
list?
what. It's coal, it's chicken, it's herbs, it's a bit of an incense, which is a weird mix to buy, to be honest. And after that we have a page that the translator said read like a children's rhyme. Something
children's
about
rhyme?
a black man. I told her not to translate it completely because I was honestly scared what we will trigger if we do that. And after the rhyme, we are just having the words of it worked. And Miss Wheeler feeling better. Very much better. And then the rest of the diary is basically, again, not important stuff. We will be asking Sinead later today if she knows anything about these components. It sounds more like components, honestly, that she was buying, and if she has any idea on what kind of black man they're talking about.
Huh.
Just guessing. I'm not sure if you had any chance to find out anything on Adele. Because we don't
Well,
know
as a matter
how.
of fact, I do have some information on her.
Okay.
She has a criminal record.
Ooh.
Would you believe? It's
I'm
a weird
surprised.
thing. She came from Italy, but we know that already.
Yeah.
So that was quite clear. She worked in. She worked in a hospital here in New York City for a while, and she it's a bit strange. She was made to leave because someone accused her of blasphemous practices. So, it says here that, accusations were leveled at her that she had killed a couple of cats and sprinkled blood in the basement of the hospital, and that kind of thing. And it was a bit all over the place because obviously, I mean, who would do that? So she was she was there was a dispute. She was the police were called. The police couldn't find any evidence that it had been her. They did find the carcasses of 2 dead cats. But she said it wasn't her. She had nothing to do with it. But she apparently then she decided to retire, and left the service, and yeah. So that was a bit strange.
Do you know when this was? Probably when she started to work for Miss Wheeler?
Say again, sorry.
Do you know when she left the hospital? Which year?
She left in 1936.
No, 18, I hope. 1936?
Sorry. Sorry. No, not 19.
18?
18.
1836.
My mistake, sorry, yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
It's okay, it's blasphemous.
That was a year before this whole incident happened with her son. That was where this other person died of hemorrhaging in the street. So she moved in 1935, 36 apparently.
So Isabel was homesick for around a year.
Yes, indeed, she was alone as far as.
At least alone. She might have been ill before, but okay, after, so 36, well, it fits the timeline at least, that she then joined because she couldn't work in a hospital, doing weird stuff that she then did for Miss Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
Although this time she used a chicken and not cats.
You mean it wasn't a shopping list for food?
I don't think so. Coal for a black man, maybe. Or making a fire. A chicken for blood. Some incense. A special herb. That
So you
could
think that
be
she
a
did
shopping
some
list.
kind of spell?
It is quite weird that you have this list, then you have the rhyme about a black man, and then you have the it worked out, because that is the only time where what worked out. She didn't write down what worked out, but something was done and it worked. It healed Mrs. Wheeler. And the thing before that is the rhyme and the shopping list. And I highly doubt she cooked like a chicken soup that was surprisingly helpful to Miss Wheeler, that was really bound to bed and weak and had a lot of issues. Chicken soup is good, I know that, just looking at Dottie as well, but not that good. Even Italian chicken soup can't be that good. It just reads like she did something. And she might have done that out of good heart, to be honest. I don't read anything evil in this. It's just, maybe she really just wanted to help, and that's the way she learned in Italy. Mm-hmm. It helped Mrs. Wheeler, at least for a time. So, the question is, do you have any idea where Adele went? Because we have nothing on her. We don't know if she died in that house or if she left because Miss Wheeler didn't need her anymore.
I have no idea. I have no record. The only thing that I have is her police record, and then what we know about. But she had nothing, I mean, as far as we can tell, she wasn't involved in the altercation with her son, you know, and this other person who died on his own. She wasn't seen there. Nobody reported seeing her in the vicinity.
It really sounds that we need to maybe knock on some doors in the houses around Spooner to see if someone that grew up there remembers.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's definitely thinkable that someone is still alive. I mean, sometimes when I look at the area there, I would say that the average age is something like 100. Well, that's very unkindly. They are old age pensioners. Some of them are in their 70s and 80s. If they
The question
have lived
is
there all their lives.
Exactly. If they move there, they will not know. But if they grew up around there, they might remember, because an Italian woman sometimes at least sticks out. And Mrs. Wheeler definitely. If someone is bound sick at home, husband dying, the people talked.
Yes, and like I said,
And they
I
will
mean,
even
he
more
was-
talk when she
they were
gets better.
like the darlings of their time. I mean, he was a very successful stonemason. Lots of people would have worked with him or would have given him work because he did work in the local cemetery. He made very, very lovely gravestones. So that is someone that people know, that people remember, that people talk to, who experiences people in their grief. So if he is successful in that profession, like a mortician, you have to have a certain way with people, because you will be dealing with people who are at their lowest. You will be asked by them to create memories for the deceased that can be put out there for all to see. So he would have been at the heart of the community, doing this successfully over a decade, as far as we know. So
And her turning sick, being at home, and also then getting better suddenly, that will be something people talked about as well, because miracles, you don't ignore, you talk about them. You talk about good and bad stuff, that's the neighborhood. So I think I will maybe make an afternoon walk around the area and just see. There were so many people walking around, hanging out of the window, just looking around. I think talking to some people shouldn't be too difficult. Would I be in problem with the I wouldn't, right? I could just no. I'm not doing anything
wrong. If you don't
wrong.
pretend to be a policewoman, and he laughs. Of course, that would never happen. There
I
are no
would
policemen.
never. I would just say what I am. I'm a private investigator.
Indeed. Yes,
Well-
no, there is no conflict of interest, as it were.
Okay, then
But
we
do
will
remember
do
what
that.
Sinead said. She told everyone
I
to
will
stay
n-
away from the
I will
house.
not-
Don't go inside.
I will not go into the house. We will just take a walk around the area and the neighborhood and see if we can find people that remember the Wheelers.
Yeah, do be careful, but by all means, Ms. Baker, by all means.
As long as we don't have horrible deaths in the houses around our extreme horrible house, I think the thing is bound to the ground and it's not moving outside. Because if not, you would have heard about much more deaths in other houses in nearby.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So
You will report back if you find anything.
I will definitely report back. Maybe would you fancy to meet over breakfast or lunch tomorrow? Maybe lunch tomorrow, if you can
Yes,
put
why
it
not?
into
Why
your
not?
work
You
schedule.
come down to the station. We could go to a little diner over here.
Then let's do that. Then I will be there at
They
12
make great
sharp
pancakes.
tomorrow. Oh, pancake sounds lovely. I'm definitely up for that. Then we will see each other tomorrow for lunch.
Good. So I'll see you tomorrow then.
Have a nice rest of the day.
You too. And he hangs up. And you can hear, and basically Dottie is doing what Dottie does in the mornings, probably doing the washing up and then putting away the dishes and possibly rummaging through the pantry to think about what kind of soup she's going to make. Because, of course, she makes soup from scratch because only losers use tins. And as you know, making a good soup is going to take a while.
Alice would just peek into the kitchen, would just, Dottie dear, tomorrow we will have lunch with the sergeant and already be prepared after lunch today with Sinead. We will make a lovely walk outside. I know the weather's not the nicest, but still, let's give it a try. I need some fresh air.
Make a perception. Make a spot hidden roll.
Spot hidden. That is. If I roll the value, is it successful or I need to roll
if you roll
under?
The value, yes, it is successful.
Okay, because I rolled exactly a 65. So yes, I made it. Barely.
You see how involuntarily her eyes glide down to your leg.
Mm-hmm.
She catches herself and looks you in the eye and says, "Yes, why not go for a walk?"
Perfect. And then I will just get properly dressed. I can't sit around in a morning gown when Sinead comes over. And she will just go upstairs. Not the quickest, because in here she's not running around with the walking cane. She's basically using, if she needs, the handrail and just manages that way. And she will dress herself up, already prepared to go outside later on as well. So it will definitely be a dress, I would guess, but something a bit warmer and something not too flashy. She wants to look quite conservative. Because the people we will talk to in the afternoon will not be keen on talking to someone that looks fashionable and bright colored, I guess. So
and of course your impeccable fashion sense, which you have, makes it easy for you to pick just the right type of dress for this kind of impression that you're going for. And of course it looks fantastic on you. And an hour or so later, it's lunch, and it's and you hear the doorbell. So that's Sinead coming, you assume, and you hear Dottie open the door and say, "Hello, Sinead," and Sinead says, "Hello, Dottie," and she says, "Well, why don't you sit down at the dining table, and I will call Ms. Baker." And she comes upstairs. You can hear her on the
I'm
stairs, and she
probably
says,
meeting her halfway already. I'm
"Oh,
already
madam,
on my way, dear. I guess that was Sinead.
Yes, that is Sinead. She's already sitting at the dinner table. And why don't you just join her and I'll bring out the soup and the sandwiches."
You are the best. Thank you very, very much. And Alice will just say hello to Sinead. Thank you again for joining us so quickly.
Not a problem. I hear that Dottie makes very nice soup, so...
Oh, she does. And also, no, we will do that after dinner. I have a little something for you. As thank you for all the help that you gave us. And we also have a new thing that maybe you will be able to help us with. That's why, honestly, we invited you, because we found something.
Yes, I know. Usually after I talk about essences, I don't usually get invited back unless somebody's really interested in it, because a lot of people find that whole thing, and then me by extension, quite spooky. So what have you found out? Because of course I am curious. This whole story is very, very interesting to me, as you can imagine.
Well, from the house that was haunted, I told you that there were pieces of the house at an antique store for years already, and no one wanted to buy them. Well, I tried to buy a fruit bowl. I couldn't.
Tried to buy a fruit bowl.
And
then
was
what happened?
so ugly I just could bring it over me to buy it. Which honestly is weird, because if I want to have something, I usually want to have something. But then I managed to get a mirror, because horribly enough there was a big mirror from the estate. So I bought it and dropped it, because I thought that mirror shouldn't be in one piece. And it felt for a second that if something was gripping out and gripping me. Not physically, but as if some force was there, which was weird for a second, and then, well, the mirror shattered, and I guess the link was broken, maybe? And
Tell me again about this whole fruit bowl incident. You said it was so ugly that you couldn't buy it. But previously you told me you were going to buy it because you wanted to burn it. So wouldn't the ugliness not mean anything?
I know logically now it's... But when we were in there, I just couldn't. Everything in me was no.
Well, as you probably have guessed, that wasn't you. That was
it fits to the description
the
that
essence.
happens with all the people that walk past the stuff to decide I'm buying everything else but not that.
Which
But at least the mirror is gone, and
which
that
is
is
possible, like I said, but for something like this to actually work, the powers behind it are very strong.
the question is if it helped that we destroyed the mirror.
It certainly didn't hinder.
Okay.
I
So-
mean, you managed to break a mirror, and we talked about how important mirrors are as a manifestation of a gateway between our world and the other world. So at least you have
14
made
years
it
of bad
impossible
luck.
for someone to be dragged through that mirror, as apparently Dottie was. But
That
also
was my
you
worry.
deprived it of a way of looking at you.
Yeah, maybe. I just wanted to make sure that, well, over the years nothing happened, but still that nothing goes through the mirror and just grabbing people or going out murdering people.
I mean, I'm very interested in the fact that you managed to do it.
It wasn't that hard, weirdly enough.
I assume that the power of the house and the essence is unstable.
Might be, or I had a lucky second where I was strong enough to just take it and smash it.
Yes, that is also a possibility.
Well, at least now I have 14 years of bad luck, because that is the second mirror I smashed within weeks.
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. This whole story about the 7 years of ill luck, it's true and it isn't. Mirrors are made of quicksilver.
Yes, I know.
Inhaling quicksilver
Is bad luck.
is bad for your health. Hence the expression mad as a hatter, because milliners used quicksilver in hat making, and over time their mental
did not
faculties
know that.
deteriorated because they were inhaling it.
That is interesting to know. Well, it happened. I can't change it, and we will just have to live with that. And honestly, if I see more mirrors that is linked to that building thing, I will smash them happily again.
Maybe let Dottie smash them, you know, the proverbial luck of the Irish.
Maybe we both will give it a go. The other thing that we found in the things is a diary
Is that a fact?
of the Italian nurse that we suspected did something to heal the sick lady in the house that is now the evil ghost.
So what does it say?
Well, most of it is a diary of a lady in New York talking about flowers and weather and springtime and things. The other thing that definitely is confirmed, she was the nurse of the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
She came there and the lady was really sick. Really, really sick. Sounds not fun at all. And then we have something like a shopping list. Then we
shopping list.
have a rhyme about a black man that should come. And after that, she wrote something similar to "It worked," and the lady's getting better. Which sounds very much like something you told us that maybe they've done. The only question is, what can you do with a chicken, some coal, incense, and tarragon?
Well, I can tell you a few things that you can
Well,
do with these things.
I know Dottie can make a fabulous dinner out of that, probably, but I'm not so
to that,
sure.
and far beyond anything that Dottie would do with these ingredients. I
The
mean, it's not
incense is a
just
really weird
it's
addition.
not just a cliche that you can use, or that chickens are quite often used to get their blood for some weird rituals. I mean, you've heard of witches. Most of them don't know what they're doing, but the ones that do know what they're doing will use blood. And chickens are easy to come by.
Yeah, well, we'll
It's not
suspect if you buy a
unusual for
chicken.
somebody to take a live chicken home and then slaughter them. That's
Yeah.
something that people do. You know, if you start getting into killing unusual animals, let's say dogs and cats, people will look at you kind of weirdly. But if you say, "Well, I'm going to slaughter a chicken," nobody's going to question you. Coal, depending on what she meant by that, could be used to draw something. You can use it to burn it.
I didn't think
Fire
about the drawing
and blood
part.
are a very powerful mixture. Having said this, of course, I've never myself engaged in brujeria. I don't do that. But I know of people who do, and blood magic is something that exists. And it is quite dark. Taking a
is.
life, even if it's the life of a chicken, in a ritual.
We also found out that that lady worked, not the sick lady, the nurse worked in a hospital before. She was more or less kicked out. Not really, they tried to kick her out because they suspected her of killing cats in the basement and spreading around the blood for some juju magic thing. Which kind of fits. They definitely found cats, but they obviously could never really say it was her. And but she left, and then she started to work for the sick lady. So there seems to be some Italian, I would say voodoo. I know it's not voodoo because in Italy they are not doing voodoo, but probably it's a similar thing to what I hear from friends down in New Orleans.
Well, I mean, I have bad news for you. Working in a hospital is a very good place for a witch to work in because people die.
The question is if she basically wanted to help, because the rest of the diary is really reads like a sweet lady nurse that just wants the best for a patient.
Well,
Maybe she doesn't even, or didn't, she shouldn't, hopefully, didn't even know how bad it really was what she did. Could that be? That she, like, learned it without explanation what it's really doing? Because it really read like she was surprised that it worked, which is weird if she did it before in a hospital. I'm not sure. But definitely you say as well, it's an ingredient list that definitely could be used for magic
Yes.
ritual stuff.
I mean, there is a reason why the Catholic Church is so fond of incense. You know,
Yeah.
when you strip it all down, Catholicism is also a form of witchcraft.
Looking at Dottie with big eyes.
Dottie's sitting there knitting and just nodding her head.
Okay. Well, the other thing is the rhyme. We did not translate it completely because I was really scared if we translate it, we trigger something or not. Although it sounds like it would only trigger if you have the right ingredients and things to do it, probably. But still, it sounded like a children's rhyme, but about a black man. That could be anything, couldn't it? Or have you ever heard anything about summoning the black man to help?
The idea of the black man, of a dark entity, is certainly something that I've heard of and that you probably have heard of as well.
We heard it as children,
Indeed.
obviously.
Usually the black man is a kind of boogeyman that you use to scare children, you know, so eat up your greens or else, you know. However, Satan is also sometimes described as dark. Sometimes he's glorious and beautiful, but usually he's dark and dark red. But, you know, darkness, blackness do have a very negative connotation as opposed to the forces of the light, of the sun, of everything that's white. I mean, that's why we call certain types of magic black magic and other types of magic white magic.
Mm-hmm.
If what I assume and what you are hinting at is true, this black man can be anything. However, I believe that we are looking at somebody actually having called an entity, having summoned something, and possibly entered into a pact.
It could be read into the words that we found in the diary.
Do you have the words, or the part that has been translated?
Yes, sure. Just give me a second. Alice will just jump off, even if she still haven't finished lunch, but still, she would just jump up and would go over to her desk to get the 2 or 3 pages, basically like the first sentences, then the shopping list. She didn't translate the rhyme, right? I asked her not to.
No, she just translated the first 3 lines.
Yeah, and then the next page where it's like, it worked on it, and that would be the pages Alice would bring back and put it or hand it over to Sinead.
Mm-hmm. She takes a look.
As I said, the translation of the diary of the rhyme was not really finished because I was scared to not trigger anything. If you know Italian, you can read the original rhyme, but my Italian is, and it's old Italian as far as we learned from Sicily, as it reads.
Old Italian.
Old Italian. At least, well, the translator said that the writing and the way it was written reads older than the notebook or diary looked like. But we know it has been at least, 60 years ago. So, not sure. You mean maybe she is older than she looked? Maybe she's still around? Because we have no idea what happened to her. She just vanishes out of sight. We know what happened with the old lady and how she died. Not how, we know that she died. But
I have an idea, or I have a suspicion.
okay. I'm open for any ideas at the moment.
I have a suspicion that indeed this lady that you're dealing with is a lot older than...
But she had a son.
So?
Or why shouldn't she have a son? Okay, I'm listening.
There is a story about how you can stop time and gain eternal life, almost. But you have to sell your soul. And that's a story that is told in very many cultures.
The Dorian Gray thing we talked about.
The Dorian Gray thing, for example, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, the entity will come and claim your soul, at which point you will die, because you cannot live without a soul. However, you can sell on the pact. If you replace your own, let's say, name in the book with someone else's, you're free to go. You will probably age from then on out and live out the rest of your life normally, but you will have gained, if you're playing your cards right, several hundred years if you're lucky. If you keep supplying that entity with lives in the interim. Maybe that's what she was doing, sacrificing the cats, or even, it would be interesting to find out if there were unexplained deaths in the hospital that she worked in. And maybe Miss Wheeler maybe she told Miss Wheeler, I can make you whole again. And you will be fine if I just say a couple of words, sprinkle a little blood, draw a little sigil over your bed. When somebody comes in the night, you just lie very still. And then, at some point, Miss Wheeler improved, and everything was fine. Until that entity came to claim her soul, and she refused. And since then, her essence has been trapped in that house. That is a possibility. I know it sounds far-fetched, but it is something that could happen.
It sounds definitely like an option. But why is she then killing? Well,
Sorry,
she's definitely angry of being stuck there, probably. But why the killing? All the killing the ghost did.
Well, like I said, I mean, on the one hand, the deaths feed her, and she gets company.
Mm-hmm.
Because she keeps those, she traps those essences. I mean, if what we assume is, and what you have told me is quite clear, because you've seen it yourself, she's hiding in the Shadowlands. She's inside the mirror, and she wants company inside the mirror. I mean, think about it. There is somebody who's got no body anymore. If she wants to interact with the world, she needs power. She gets that power from us, by scaring us, by killing us. She can trap us to have friends. I mean, not that it's a really... It would be a very dysfunctional family that she's building, but...
Well, it would be something. Well, it's time to find out more about...
Can I make a copy of these lines?
Sure, feel free. Just a second, I will give you some pen and paper. And she will just go back to the desk and get like a pen and some ink and some paper.
You wouldn't...
I could copy if you want to.
She basically copies out the information.
Okay.
Dark man.
I don't know if you have any, like, a similar thing what you are, but an Italian friend that would know about Italian stories and myths? Because I'm with you, the origin is probably similar for different countries, but maybe
I will see
someone knows
about
the
that.
Italian twist on that thing.
There are a couple of women who still know about the stories of the old country. I will make inquiries. This shouldn't take too long.
If
because
some money helps, just let me know and I can send some over for you.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that if you were to make a donation to the local church.
Oh, that is easily done.
Then I think you won't find it too difficult to open a couple of mouths.
Okay.
I will make inquiries. I will be able to let you know more tomorrow.
That is perfect. We will be out at least over lunch, just to warn you. But if you give us either call in the morning or in the evening.
Yes, I will do that. I will do that. And oh, by the way, Dottie, a really lovely soup that is. It's the best stew ever. And the sandwiches.
Blessed to have her around. I definitely will never go hungry, and I am feasting like a goddess every day.
She smiles at you and she says, well, that's good to hear because starvation isn't fun. Good. So I would like to take my leave now because I do want to make inquiries about this.
Before you go, just 2 more minutes. As I said, I have a small thing for you. Just as thank you for all your support, because it must be weird to talk, well, maybe not, maybe, whatever. Just as a thank you for all your help and support, and Alice would just get up and get a box. Okay. Which you can see, it's a typical box where it would have a hat inside, and she would just put it in front of Sinead. And
do you want me to open it now?
Yes. Go
she
on.
Opens
before
it
you
and
leave.
she sees this gorgeous hat and she's like, no, you didn't.
Well, you deserve a beautiful hat that is functional.
This is one of the most beautiful hats I have ever seen.
Well combinable, and it just fits for your beauty. You can have your hair out if you want to, but if you want to hide it, there's enough space in there to put your hair up.
She looks around and Dottie says there's a mirror in the hallway. And she gets up and goes outside and you can hear a squeal. And she walks back in and she looks a lot less drawn and a lot more like the age that she is. And you can see the most genuine gratitude on someone's face than you've ever seen. I mean, this person is absolutely thrilled.
Well, Alice is happy as well, because she likes to make gifts like that, because, hey, it's a thank you, and she knows the other side is happy, so win-win for both. This looks marvelous, dear.
Miss
That's
Baker,
perfect size.
I would normally say I cannot accept this, but I accept it in the spirit it's been given in.
Well,
and I shall not forget it.
You helped us a lot, so you deserve definitely a treat for that.
Thank you
and your
so
old
much.
hat really should not be out there anymore. Not to be mean, but it really doesn't look like someone be out there.
You know, it's and
it worked.
I mean, compared to this, most hats would only come in second place. But this, I mean, I thank you so very, very much.
You are very, very welcome, and enjoy it, especially with the more murky, muddy weather today.
Yes, I don't know. It's a bit weird today and yesterday as well. I just hope we're not in for one of those cyclones. So what I will do now is I will leave you because I do want to make a couple of inquiries and I want to make them today because I think every day we wait, chances are that somebody might end up in that house inadvertently.
Yeah. Dead again.
You know, or maybe somebody's gonna deliver the post and they get pulled in. You don't know. So because
very, very true.
You told me that the house called Sarah. Arthur Donnelly called Sarah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that the house might start making more phone calls to people.
Well, the thing is, the question is if Arthur did the call, because he was the only one using the phone. It really sounded like him. And
Yes.
he was there. But I get what you mean. It was like...
And here is another thing that you should... I don't know. Okay, I will tell it to you. I mean, do be careful of people that you know who suddenly approach you, come for a surprise visit, etc.
Okay.
You have been inside that mirror.
Yes.
The essence knows you now. It knows what you know. It knows who you know. And she looks at Dottie and she says, and she knows that you're vulnerable. So you might want to ensure that Dottie doesn't go anywhere near that house. And you should always know at all times where Dottie is. Should she suddenly appear in front of you, that you know where the real one is.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Should we also warn the person that was possessed by the ghost?
Absolutely. That person might want to take a very long vacation very far away from here.
Well, they have work to do, so they can't leave, I guess. Also, their family. Let's just hope, but...
I would suggest that you don't meet with that person at all in person for the next couple of weeks until this is resolved.
But we are working on this together. I will meet them tomorrow for lunch.
Are you working on that together?
We are.
Are you working with that person though?
So far, yes.
It is up to you. I can only tell you what I think.
I'm taking your warning seriously. I definitely think it's him. We will see. And Dottie and I will need to figure out something like a word or anything that we know for sure the other one is the other person.
Yes, and don't
Because
tell
if we
anyone.
said it now, the ghost should not know because it happened after we were in
Yes,
there.
that's a very good idea.
Then we will do so. Then thank you very much. We will call you. Dottie, could you call a cab, please?
Actually, I will walk because I'm not too far away from my new destination.
Okay. Then thank you very, very much.
Thank you for the
Please
hat.
take
and I
care
will
as
speak to
well.
you tomorrow, and you take care.
I will definitely thank you.
Both of you.
We
And
will.
she walks away.
That last part was not really making me calmer.
I don't really know her like that. She's usually a lot more cheerful.
Well, honestly, after all we've been through, I am thankful that she takes this seriously and not making fun of it.
Oh, I don't think she would ever make fun of anything like that. I mean, this is how she earns her money.
I don't think she has seen a severe case like this before.
Possibly.
Not herself. Maybe she heard about it, but she definitely... It sounds like a rather rare thing happening, to be honest. Not the usual. A ghost is still stuck in
She
this
looks at you
world.
and she says, well, I should certainly hope that this is rare.
I hope so as well, because the only thing that you usually hear is about one ghost maybe still stuck and being a bit of a poltergeist and you can free them and everything is good again. We will see about that. But my dear, we definitely need to find like a code word that we can make sure the other one is the other one, because to be honest, we will be near the house in the afternoon because we will have to investigate a bit. I don't want to go in the house, I don't want to go on the property, but we will be at least in the neighborhood. We have
Yes.
to. Although I'm still worried about what she said about the sergeant. But so far the sergeant helped us get information that would lead us to a way how to get rid of her. So I don't think that would be the ghost. The ghost would lie and tell us other things. We will have to be careful tomorrow during lunch. But, so, code word. What will we take?
I don't know.
Need something that is unusual.
And that
That
only
the
you
ghost-
and I
No.
know.
But that would be not an obvious choice in case someone knows us well. Although we both are very different, so...
That we are.
We will think about it for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we can find.
Okay. We can now take a few
Yeah,
minutes.
I
of
think
a
that would be
break.
perfect. Then I can
Yeah,
think
and
about
you
it,
can
or we
think about
both.
something, and then when we get back, we can do the investigation in the area where Spooner 1206 is located.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll
Not
take
sure it's a
5
good
minutes.
idea, but
So
let's...
stop the recording. And here we are back, and Alice has chosen a code word that she can use to identify Dottie and vice versa.
Yeah, so Alice decided after some probably going through her books, just reading what kind of book she has there to get some inspiration. She's stumbling over a book in Latin, and she remembers that Dottie can at least do a bit of Latin as well. So she basically turns around to Dottie like, I think Latin is the best language to go with. We both can say it, and it's a bit out of reach for someone who knows us that we would use something
That
in a
it
Latin
is,
word.
That it is.
And just make it honestly quite easy. We will just say, it's me. So, ego sum.
Very good. That's a very good idea, madam.
I think that fits the best. It's on point what we mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's me, you can trust me. And I don't think the ghost would know that, because Latin, honestly, you know, my Latin is horrible. I only know bits and pieces from school. So... And
Chances
it's
are that
not
the
a
ghost
thing.
won't know this, and also why would she?
It's
even
not a
assume-
language that you speak, so it's
Yes.
not something we have in our memory thinking about. Latin is the most wonderful language. It's not. So I think that would be it. So ego sum is our code word that if you are not sure if the other one is the right person,
We will use
that's
that. That
the
sounds
phrase word
perfect.
that we have to say.
So so the plan is now that we're going to 1206 Spooner and talk to the neighbors, right?
Exactly. My idea is to talk with... There were a lot of people hanging out there watching. Just to be curious, to see if there's anyone that has been around when the Wheelers were still alive.
I'm pretty sure.
We
Maybe
just
not
need
him,
to...
but definitely her.
Her, and I'm quite sure there are also a lot of people there that moved later.
But
To
we
the
could
place?
ask them about the other people who have lived there since.
But they will just tell us they died. A horrible death. And then another one died a horrible death. We can still ask, that's true, although I'm really curious to talk to people that basically grew up in the neighborhood.
Of course. I mean, we will see what we will see.
Exactly. So let's just be our charming selves, just taking a walk through the neighborhood. Honestly, as cover up, I probably will not say I'm a PI because that will rather let people not talk about things. I probably will go with the idea that I'm thinking about buying the house, which I'm not, just do.
You can see that for a second Dottie's eyes glazed over.
The only reason why would be to build up a high wall around it that no one can enter that thing again. But no, I have cash on or money, but that's a lot of money. But it might be a good entry point to why we are walking around, because we want to see the neighborhood and we want to see if this would be the right place for us, talking to neighbors on how it's here and if they heard something about the house, because we heard some very weird stories and we were just curious. And let's see what we can get out of them.
It's going to be interesting to see if anyone would like to discourage us from moving in, because
I
if somebody says,
hope
"Oh
so.
yes, by all means, buy the house," they are
Then
in on the whole thing.
they are in on it, then they go on the suspect list, and honestly I hope that people try to tell us not to do that and tell us a bit about why not, because, well, you want to know if you invest. So what do you think? Not too flashy, because I don't want to scare the older generation off with being too fancy looking.
You would not go amiss on Sunday Mass in this, so you will be fine.
Perfect. Then I would say let's get our coats and a cab and let's drive to Spooner Street. Although I'm not really excited to say, but it has to be done.
Then let's do that. So let me just ring a cab, and it should be here presently, and then we will be on our merry way. She calls a cab, the cab shows up, you go downstairs. She is really finding it very difficult not to help you down the stairs, but you can see that she's hovering, kind of like with her arms like this. Just should you fall, she would try and catch you. But you manage to go down the stairs, not a problem. You have your cane.
My cane. Believe me, I have the cane with me, and also she will definitely have her gun with her.
Okay, you have your gun. All right.
Just to be safe instead of sorry.
Okay, you make it to the car, no problem. You get into the cab, she gets into the cab. You tell the cab driver where you want to go. He takes you there. We'll just fast forward. You get there with no incident. You get out, and it is a muggy. It's now muggy and dull, but it's not raining. So, and it's actually, this kind of like this. It is going to rain. It is building up, probably towards a thunderstorm. And it is way too hot and sweaty, but it is also dark and dull. So which means that people are outside, but it's kind of like sluggish outside. It's not people being very active in the garden. It's more like people milling about, at the garden wall, chatting to neighbors and stuff. So that's the atmosphere.
I guess we would get out on the opposite side of the street of the horrible house in Spooner, and Alice would just take Dottie's arm and would just look up and down the house, just along the windows, probably trying to see if she can see someone in the window because she's paranoid enough already.
Make a perception check.
Oh god. Spot hidden. That is a success.
Okay. Right now you can't see anything really, because it is bright enough for there to be reflections in the window, so you can't really look through.
Thank goodness. not a bad thing. And then Alice would just like, should we just go down there and let's just see.
Okay. So you see a
We would look for older couples, obviously. So if there is, by surprise, a younger couple in the middle, we would just blankly ignore them.
you see a you actually do see a couple.
Mm-hmm.
They are sitting on their porch, drinking iced tea. It looks like.
Alice would just wave over to them. Good day.
Good day.
We were just curious if you would maybe have a few minutes. Well, I am thinking about buying 126
1206.
1206. Close. 1206 Spooner, and I was just curious if you've been around in this neighborhood for a while and could tell me if how it's around here. Because it's an investment and I want to make sure that it's a good investment.
Did you hear that, Alfred? She wants to buy the Spooner house, the 1206 Spooner house. Well, dear, why?
Why not? It seems like a nice neighborhood to grow old.
Oh, the neighborhood is very nice. I mean, I have lived here all my life, and my husband has been with me for the last 50 years here. But to be quite honest,
so you grew up here?
don't really want to move into that house. You know, bad plumbing. Bad
Well,
plumbing.
To be honest, well, looking at the paperwork, I've seen that there were a lot of people that died in that house.
You saw that in the paperwork.
Yeah, it seems so a bit. We were.
Alfred straightens himself in his chair and says, Juliet, I think you can stop the pretense about the bad plumbing.
So
I
it is
guess.
true that really.
Well, as I've said, I've lived here all my life, and this is 71 years. That house over there, miss, is bad luck. So many people have died in there, and really strange deaths too. You know, there was this one man, and he shot his wife and then himself in the face with a double-barrel shotgun. And then there was the gas leak one time, and that awful story of the little Touré son. It was terrible. He drowned. I mean, his mother was never the same afterwards. I hear that she's in a. I mean, they were from Canada, you know, like from Quebec, and they moved here, and they such a lovely family, you know. Their English was a bit strange, but hey, and their little boy, he drowned, you know, and you know, the sister took it awfully hard. I mean, she was away at summer camp when it happened, so she hadn't seen her brother in a good while, and the mother had a nervous breakdown, and then they left, and I think they sold the house or something, and last I heard was that she's somewhere in a sanatorium somewhere in California, and you know, she can't be spoken to. She's, you know, lost her mind essentially. The
Losing the
daughter's still
child
in New
like
York
that.
though.
That is interesting to know. I totally would understand if you would want to go far away when something like that happens. So I've read in the papers that the Wheeler family built the house here, and Mr.
Michael Wheeler
seemed to have been quite a personality in the community. He built quite a few buildings, as far as I understood. And I read something about his wife being really sick.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, as I said, I've lived here for 71 years. I- she died. Oh my God. How long ago was that now? Was it 40 odd years? God, time flies.
Must have definitely been a long while ago.
Um, Let me see. So she died. I mean, you know, she died even before the Titanic sank. So, almost 50 years ago now. Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. Um,
But as far
One day she just, I
she
mean,
just
she was quite old when she died. She basically deteriorated a lot in her last year or so. Ever since that Italian nurse left her, it was, I think she was kind of like her lifeline or something. So she died. Um, and she was she had been very healthy for the whole time that I knew her. Um, so she was, but then she was. My mum said that she was very old. My mum also told me that she had been very sick at one time, and then made a miraculous recovery. And she spent a lot of time, in church and basically praying and thanking God for her miraculous recovery. But then I guess towards the end, it was just age that caught up with her.
you say the Italian nurse because we found some Italian books in the house, like stored away. They
Oh
looked
yes, yes. Well,
old.
I mean, she she said she was a nurse. She was kind of secretive. People called her the crone, although not to her face. Um,
Okay.
she was kind of, she was always there. I mean, I can't remember a time when she wasn't in the Wheeler house.
Do you remember? Because we also found something about a boy. Did Miss Wheeler or the nurse have a son living in the house? Do you remember that?
No, they didn't. I mean, Miss Wheeler
Okay.
never had children.
Well, her husband died quite shortly after they moved into the house, if
That
I
is
see the
true.
paperwork right, because the house was transferred from him to her. So
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't around then. I wouldn't
you
remember.
must
I
have
mean,
been very
I was
young during
born
that
in
time.
1860 and
But
1859.
so you remember the nurse? So there was someone else living there. Okay.
Well, I mean, there were children living in the house later.
Yeah, and as
Like
we
one of them
just
drowned
heard,
in there, but
one drowned.
yes.
Okay. That definitely doesn't sound like a nice house, to be honest. Very bad mojo in there.
At this word, she kind of looks at her husband and he chuckles.
So many people died that that will be difficult to sell the house to anyone. Except
Well,
people
so
are
far
not
they've
really
never had
believing in
any
stuff like
problems, but
that.
then again, nobody ever came to speak to us about the house, did they?
Well, I am definitely am learning again that it's always a good idea to talk to the people in the neighborhood to make sure that it's the right place to buy and not, as it seems, the wrong place to buy. Because,
Well, I mean, the neighborhood is really lovely.
but maybe
It's
I
so
should then
quiet. You would love it here.
rather look for another house in the neighborhood than this house.
Yeah, I can't recommend the house. I mean, not unless you want to die.
Well, we all have to do one day, but I would like to just grow old in peace and quiet, not die by an accident. And it seems there were a lot of accidents in that house.
Yeah, that one time when it nearly burnt down.
And someone shot himself and his wife. Well, first his wife, then himself. And a gas leak? Well, they fixed it by now, as far as I hope. I should talk to the owner again to make sure that definitely... I will sleep over it. We will have a stroll through the neighborhood anyhow, at least then I can see if the neighborhood is nice. But thank you so much for being open about this and warning me, because I'm doubting
Oh, you
this is
seem
a
like a
good
nice young lady.
investment.
We wouldn't want you on our conscience now, would we, Alfred? Albert.
Well, thank you very, very, very much for your time, and let's just hope the weather is turning to nicer summer weather soon.
I think
because
it'll break
this
first and then it'll be sunny again, but I'm pretty sure we're in for a...
it seems like rain and storm coming, right?
Yes.
But yeah, then thank you for taking the time, and enjoy your lemonade.
Toodles.
Thank you. And yeah, Alice would move on. She would still look out if she can find someone else, although this was already very interesting to
there
hear.
are several people that you could talk to, men and women alike.
She would go again for an older couple and would ask basically similar questions that she's thinking about, looking about the neighborhood, if they heard anything, because depending on how they react, if they react like, oh, you should maybe not buy the house, she would basically throw again the, I heard really bad stories happening there, and I was just curious if they're real or not.
So essentially, you do meet... everyone here is really kind of like in their 60s or older. So
Yeah.
Some of them definitely know about the story of the house and, you know, how recent owners have come to terrible deaths. Only one other person actually is old enough and grew up in this neighborhood to tell you anything about it. His name is Lucas Dreyer. He's 85, he tells you. Well, now, this whole story about, you know, this house. If I were you, I would run a mile. You don't want to buy this house. It's bad luck.
But
And
the
it has been
neighborhood
bad
looks so
luck ever
fun.
since that witch moved in.
Which?
Well, what do you know about the house? The house was built, and he doesn't even pause to let you say anything. It was built by Michael Wheeler for himself and his wife, but he died very young. She had always been apparently a little bit ill, but she kind of like, you know, she was unwell, you know, young women. And he looks at you and he says, well, I guess present company excluded. And, well, she became really ill after his... well, maybe 2 years before he died, and then she was bedridden. And then this woman moves in, this Italian witch, and things started to get really strange. I mean, you know, there was chanting at night, and there were lights at night, and I was a gardener, you know, I did for many people in here, in this neighborhood. One day I was called to the Wheeler house to plant some shrubs. And I dug up the garden and I found animal bones. Quite a lot of animal bones. Cats, dogs, you name it. Somebody had buried 20 or 30 of them in the garden. I mean, that's not normal.
No, one or two, you can say that. Honestly, it's just natural happening, and people buried their loved ones, but 20 to 30?
Shortly after
boy.
Shortly after this woman moved in, Isabel became better. She had been ill for several years. You know, she had been bedridden. You know, she would be wheeled around in a wheelchair. She could hardly sit up. She had problems breathing. And all of a sudden, like really from one day to the next, she gets up and walks around like Lazarus. I mean, seriously, how do you explain that, lady?
Maybe the nurse did a really good job. I'm
Yes,
not so
with
sure.
killing cats and dogs and chanting. To me, that sounds awfully like witchcraft.
It does a bit indeed, I have to admit.
And then this one time this fella he just fell over and he died, like in the street right in front of the house, like lying there in his own blood.
Oh, that happened at the house.
Well, 2 houses down, but sure.
Okay.
And now make a check. Let's see. What could you use for that? Make an intelligence roll, an idea roll.
No, we'll take the other dice. That is a hard success.
When he says two doors down, you suddenly notice something interesting. Wheeler, let's call it the Wheeler house. Spooner 1206 is actually bang smack in the middle of the neighborhood.
Okay.
It's like the center, and all of the other houses are around it, so anything would happen kind of in proximity to the house. If it happens in the neighborhood, because it's the most central place. So 2 doors down doesn't only sound close, it is close.
It is close, okay. Well, that is...
And of course, I mean, all of these people who died, I mean, even a little boy drowned, and then there was the fire, there was the gas leak, there was the man who shot his wife and then himself, and then, only a couple of weeks ago, the real estate agent committed suicide in the house. I mean, he was a young man, I saw him, he looked healthy, why would he do this?
That is a very good question. I heard about that death, and I know that the owner of the house, the old lady, died as well shortly before that. That's why.
Yes, that Russian girl. I mean, she was in her 40s, but for him, she's a girl.
Exactly. Yeah, she was Russian, and well, her family
she apparently killed herself too. I mean, what is it with people killing themselves in this house?
It looks
you tell
nice.
me.
It looks
lady,
really pretty from the outside, but yeah, it's weird. It's definitely weird. Do you know Miss Wheeler, the owner? Because I saw the name in the papers. Did she die in the house?
Oh yeah, she died in the house, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was like this dark and stormy night, and I'm not even making this up. All of a sudden, the heavens opened up and torrential rain came down and the power went out everywhere. All of the lights went out, all of the gas lights went out. The whole street was dark. Like that. And then, thunder struck. Lightning, I should say. Lightning struck. And one of the trees caught fire. And she died in that night. The next day she was dead. And people said she looked like she had seen a ghost. I mean, to be quite honest, I'm not superstitious, but all of this is very strange.
It definitely sounds really strange. The nurse, which you talked about...
That Italian woman.
Did she own the house afterwards, like a thank you? Or was she kicked out, basically, afterwards?
Oh, no, she left 2 days before she died.
Oh.
Or so they say. I never saw her leave.
Well, she at least is not in the paperwork, I think. At least I don't think I read an Italian name in there. But so she definitely... Well, you would remember she would have lived there without... So she left shortly before the old lady died.
So they say. I don't know. She just vanished one day. She wasn't there anymore. I mean, she definitely wasn't there after Isabel was dead. So if Isabel left the house to her, she never lived in it on her own.
You read or we found old stuff in the house. There was Italian things between that stored away, so I guess that might have been from that witch nurse. There were kid
Possibly.
stuff in there as well. Did the Wheelers? They didn't have a son, did they?
The
Because
Wheelers know
they would have gave the house. Did the witch have a son by any chance? Do you remember that?
Yeah, she did have a son, but I mean, he was old. He was like
Okay.
30 or something. I mean, she was 50 when she moved in. As she looked at it. As she looked at least.
Then okay, we got that. Well, there were a lot of families in that house, so whoever belonged there to might have been another child. Okay.
What are you talking about, lady?
No, I'm just still trying to figure out if I want to invest in that house or not, because the house is really pretty, I have to say, generally, and you can do
I
a
would
lot
actually
with the
discourage
house.
you from going anywhere near that place if you want to live.
I get what you mean.
We've already had 2 deaths in that house this year. For all I care, they should just burn it down. It's bad luck.
Well, the question is, what would happen if someone built a new house on top of that?
Well, I mean, if you burn down the house, what could happen? It would be done and dusted.
True. If it's the house. Well, but thank you very much for your help.
You're always welcome. And if you want good advice from somebody who's so much older than you and has seen everything, don't buy that house.
I am taking your advice very seriously. Thank you so much. Have a nice rest of the day, and let's just hope the rain is finally coming so we have nice summer weather. It's time for sunshine.
I agree. I would like some rain and then, some nice clear sunshine. God knows how many summers I've got left in me.
I hope you still have a lot ahead of you. Because you still look young and fresh, so you should have a few more years before, I'm sure, and you will enjoy them. Thank you so much for your support on this, and yeah, we will just, I think, grab a cab and get back to the city, I think.
Dottie has been hovering and kind of like, she has been watching you walk more than anything, and she's been watching you stand and lean on your cane, and
probably honestly
it's
leaning a bit more on the cane the longer we are out, but yeah, well, have a nice day. Alice would turn around and would, yeah, walk down the street. The idea is to get a cab. Last time we had to walk quite a bit to get a cab.
Yeah.
So we would probably do the same. So
yeah.
the idea is...
So now you can roll on your constitution with a penalty die, please.
Okay. Let's see. Constitution with a penalty... Oh god. With a penalty die? Why? Come on, penalty die. Be good. I made it.
Good.
Barely, because I rolled a 57.
Okay, that's fine. If you even make it barely, then you make it. Okay, good. So yeah, your leg's holding up. That's good news. That's very good news. So you do have to walk the better part of a mile.
Okay, we will take our time. We will be slow, because honestly, Alice will not be rushing, and she will definitely have her arm hooked into Dottie, so Dottie can also help her a bit if she wants to. And,
she does. And she does help.
They would walk down and, yeah, look for a cab.
Okay, so you do find a cab. You go home in the cab, or where do you go? Okay.
The idea is to go home, and Alice, I think, first of all, feet up, rest is probably... It has been a long afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's a bit to process.
Home, you sit down, you put up your feet. Dottie makes tea. You hear her rummage around in the kitchen, and she says, "What would you like for dinner, madam?"
Whatever you fancy. It doesn't need to be anything big. We can order something. Then you don't
I'm
have
gonna
to
make toad
work.
in the hole. I feel like making toad in the hole.
That sounds lovely. Although
Okay.
I personally have no idea what you're talking about, but Alice
Okay,
probably does.
it is actually an English dish. It's you take sausages and you take pancake dough and you put the sausages into a frying into a
Ah,
fireproof
yeah,
oven dish. You pour the pancake dough over it. You just put it in and you eat it with brown sauce and salad. It's
that
actually quite nice.
that sounds really lovely. Never
Yeah.
had that. So
So
look,
she is making, and it's also something that you can basically do on the fly because you can, it doesn't take
you
too
still
long
have
to
some
make the dough, and then you
sausages,
just stick it in the
eggs.
oven for
Yeah,
about 40 minutes,
perfect.
and it'll cook itself essentially. So,
And it's so
because
hearty.
not because of the walking, but I think because of the looking out for you and after you, she is a
Mm-hmm.
bit exhausted at this stage. We'll just check her con.
Poor nerves.
61. Oh,
Oh,
oh, sorry, and she gets a penalty die too. Okay, that was a 91. I don't even have to check.
okay.
She is kind of very weak. It's been taking a toll on her.
I think after when she prepared everything, Alice will be just she will be sitting on the couch and we'll just pat next to her. Come on, Tati, you deserve to put up your feet for a while.
And she does gratefully and gracefully,
And
mind
we are
you, sit down
probably
next to you
both just
and
leaning
lean
back, feet up.
and say, "This whole thing,
It's a nightmare.
yes, it is." And to think that the only thing you were trying to do was to prove that a young man didn't kill himself.
Well, we did that.
Yes. Because an entity that lives in a mirror did it. That's so going to look good if we ever tell anyone.
Well, we will not tell anyone except the ones that already know what happened. I definitely should look closer into which jobs I'm taking as a PI. Although it sounded like a total okay job.
Well, in all fairness, you couldn't predict that
That, no.
this was the reason. I mean, we both thought that he had been murdered by someone, but not by a ghost.
No, we thought a real person.
Yes.
A
I mean,
witch.
no one will believe me if I tell them.
No, I'm honestly very thankful for your friend Sinead that at least gives us a bit like, no, this is real, believe me.
I
Sense.
really wonder how she copes with all this.
I honestly don't know.
I mean, she did say that the first time something happened to her, she was 6 years old. Imagine seeing ghosts since you're 6 years old.
Well, by now she's used to it, but it must be horrifying as a child.
Uh-huh.
I can't even imagine. I would have terrorized my parents if I would have seen ghosts or things like that. Well, I terrorized my parents anyhow, but not like that.
You can tell that this is what she would have said if she was not as well brought up in Catholic school and finishing school to work as a lady's maid. She would have said that, but she's way too well brought up and way too well behaved.
Well, but I did not see ghosts. I was a tomboy playing around, jumping through hedges, climbing on trees.
Maybe your parents would have preferred if you had seen ghosts.
No. No, I don't think so.
She smiles.
But
At that
oh,
moment,
man.
the phone rings.
Okay, let's see.
I'll get this. And she gets up and she
Thank you,
moves
dear.
to the phone. And she announces that somebody has reached the Baker residence. Oh, Sinead. Oh my. Now? let me check. And she covers the mouthpiece with her hand and she says,
Mm-hmm.
Sinead it sounds like it's urgent. She's wondering if she can come round because she has
Sure,
news.
sure.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm totally fine with a visitor. As long as I don't have to leave the house today, I'm totally fine with her coming.
I think she's
She's a
coming to
delight.
us with whatever she has. Yes, of course you can. And I'm making Toad in the hole. I think there's enough for you to. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, there will be cucumber salad. Yes, of course. Yes, and I put dill in it. Well, am I the cook or are you? And she hangs up. Now she's trying to tell me how to cook.
Well, maybe she just wants the yummiest food that she can imagine. But although you do it without, you definitely don't need help for that. But
I went to school for this. I can't say the same about Sinead Murphy.
well, the only thing that we can say is Sinead knows how to eat good food. That is what I can do as well. I know when
That
food is
is
good.
true. The two of you are like peas in a pod. None of you can cook,
Well,
but both of you can eat.
I can cook a bit if I want to. Breakfast, remember?
I stand corrected. Yes, you can. And although I was terribly hungover, I do recall it was very good.
I can cook. The thing is, my parents taught me that I had to cook and learn for myself how to do it. And honestly, cooking is quite fun. The cleaning up
so say
afterwards
all
is
of
the
us.
annoying part where I'm just like, oh god, I need to clean up the mess afterwards. That is not my forte. Although honestly,
I will not contradict you here, not even out of politeness, madam.
I am definitely not a good cook as you are. You are amazing.
Well, be that as it may, Sinead will be here soon.
Okay.
I will make some more tea.
Thank
I'm
you.
just wondering what she's going to tell us. I'm almost afraid to ask.
Well, let's see if she found something spooky out about black men, I guess. Or the shopping list. Or both. Well, we
I'll
can
ever be able to eat chicken again after this.
Well, it seems like mainly cats and dogs are the animals preferred
It's a
to
good thing we
witches.
don't eat cats and dogs.
Yeah, thank goodness. I'm still. Well, am I surprised? Not really. About what the old man, Mr. Dryer, told us about all the bones he found in the garden.
It's like in the hospital, so
it's
probably she was already
confirmed.
doing stuff then.
Yeah. How can someone like that write such a nice diary? The diary reads like it's written by a really nice person. The weird shopping list rhyme thing aside, it sounds like it was really a nice person worrying about the old lady, really happy about that she's better. It sounds just weird. But let's see.
I don't know. Maybe she just didn't write about all the terrible stuff, or maybe there's another diary that we haven't found yet.
Yeah, that might be something.
Maybe she took that one with her.
Well, if she was clever, she did.
If she actually ever left.
Well, we know that she was not there when Miss Wheeler was found dead.
Yeah, but neither is the photographer. He never left. According to Sinead, he's behind the mirror. If you hadn't pulled me out, I would have never left.
You mean Isabel could have died and pulled the nurse into the mirror? Or into the other side to the other side with her?
I have no idea. I wouldn't, I mean, at this stage, I don't know what to think.
I'm with you on that 100%.
I'm gonna make some tea. And she goes
That
outside.
sounds like a good idea.
She starts also, she probably gets the dough going. And then, 10, 20 minutes later, there's the bell rings and she goes and lets Sinead in. And Sinead comes in, takes off her hat, and you notice that she has not been hiding her hair under it. The hair is free flowing, as it were. And she takes off the hat and she sits down and she says, I will cut right to the chase. The news isn't good.
Well, nothing around the story is good, so what else?
The black man is indeed just that. He's a demon. There is no other way to say it. There is no official terminology for this. You can call him demon, you can call him what you like. However, he's real. The problem is, I think we will have to go into the house and we will have to take a look at the house. In order for him to be called, you need to consecrate an area to him. Somewhere in that house, she must have made sacrifices to him. He needs blood, he needs dead bodies, so she must have killed someone to bring him forth. By killing, she would have consecrated the ground to him. So it's really in the ground. You can't get rid of it by getting rid of the house. So in a way, he is not bound to the place. You can summon him wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that other people will have summoned him since then. You can bind him. But you will not like this. You call him forth by sacrificing a human being. And then you can try and bind him, which is going to be very difficult.
You can bind him.
Or you can leave the situation as it is.
Well, the question is, if you bind him, you need to make sacrifices ongoing and ongoing. It's not a one-time thing.
There is
Or...
there is a ritual that you can use to basically banish him. But first you have to call him forth and tell him to leave this place alone, which he considers his own at this stage, obviously. To call him forth, you will have to sacrifice a human being. I don't know anyone who does that kind of thing, but I do know how to do it.
But we can't sacrifice a human being.
That's
It's
what
out
I
of
thought.
discussion. There's no other way to banish him. You need to call him first, face him, and then pray for the best that you can get rid of him? That sounds like a horrible plan.
Is very, very difficult. I mean, this kind of brujeria that has been employed here is very old. I found references to this black man even in ancient Egypt. He's been around for millennia.
Oh boy. That would explain why it's so strong. It knows what it's doing. It had a lot of practice. Also, we know for sure now that someone in that house while the old lady lived there sacrificed a lot of animals. We talked to someone who was gardener during that time, and he found a lot of bones of cats and dogs. Like 30-ish, not one or two. So
Well, I suppose if you sacrifice enough animals, you might also get enough power to call him forth. But we're talking dozens.
as I said, he said 20 to 30 bones. It was really a lot. He blankly called the Italian lady a witch, which she
Which
seems
is
to be.
probably a correct terminology for her.
He also said about there was a lot of chanting at night, lights going in and out at night, so everyone was scared of the Italian lady, and everyone suspected something really weird because, yeah. The other lady, after being sick for a while, suddenly turning better, was definitely not normal. The thing is, we heard that the nurse, or the Italian witch, disappeared like 1 or 2 days before the old lady died in the house. And on the day the old lady died, suddenly a thunderstorm came up. Lightning struck a tree, all lights in the street suddenly went out. And the next morning, when the old lady was found, she looked literally like she saw a ghost. And the Italian nurse was never seen, so they suspected she left. But we are not sure if she really left. She was just not there anymore when they found the old lady.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. She could really have just left, or something else could have happened at the house.
Yeah.
We will never know.
We will never
weren't
know.
There. I mean, the one thing you could try and bring forth Isabel.
The question is she the one murdering the people? I'm not sure we want to have her around. Because it really looked like she's the one. She possessed.
You have different
She
options.
murdered.
You can walk away.
And read in the papers in a few weeks that the next one died in the house. Maybe a young boy just weren't curious going into the house because
For
it was
example,
empty.
and that's probably best case scenario. Worst case scenario, a whole family is going to move in. Sacrificing a human being to bring forth this demon.
Without discussion, we will not do that.
If we did it and were able to dismiss it, the whole house would be rendered inert. The consecration would have been taken away and everything would go away. If we bring forth Isabel, we can try and kill her, which would at least
What would then the other
render
souls
the
be
house
still?
dormant, and the other essences would be freed. However, the house will never be normal.
He
The
would be
place will
still
never
around.
be safe.
Yeah.
It's contaminated now. It's like a disease.
The question is, if Isabel and the others are not there anymore, will it be easier to banish that thing?
I have no idea.
How would we kill her? Because it's not literally kill, because she has no body.
You're making a good point there. If she possesses someone and we kill them, she will not die.
No.
It's more like exorcising her, getting rid of the essence, and she will resist it. She will not go quietly.
That I think we already learned the hard way. So you say we could summon her outside of the house, because inside of the house sounds like we could just shoot ourselves in the face. Like someone did.
Then we might not want to bring weapons.
Well, we need something to smack the mirrors in case we need to. But yeah, it's a question. Can we summon her outside, or do we need to be in the house? Because I'm really not keen to set a foot into that house again.
You would be in terrible danger if you did. One or both of you would be dead by the end of it.
Well, everyone going in there is in danger. They make
Some
no
of us
difference
are less
if it's
in danger than others.
a child.
But I agree with you. We should
a
be
man.
outside.
We have stuff that she is kind of linked to, as it seems. Would it help to use that? We have a grand piano and a lot of other stuff.
We can try.
The question is, what do we need to summon and what do we need to get rid of her? Because we should prepare as best as we can.
Dismissing an essence is something I've done before. However, I've never dealt with one that is so malevolent as this one. And the problem is, of course, all of this brujeria that has been going on, because I don't know how that demon works now. If he's still influencing her, if he's still granting her certain powers. That I do not know, because I told you that all of this doesn't just sound like your standard haunting. There is more to it, and I think we know now what that something is. But it could be that the demon cursed her, if you will, if you want to use this religious
and that
term.
She is
and left. That she basically is now caught in there, and he's satisfied, and he doesn't care about her anymore.
That would
It
be
could
the
be that he
best
took what
case.
he wanted. Maybe he took the witch.
Maybe.
We don't know. It could be that, you know, this whole I'm selling her soul for mine didn't work out, because maybe she decided not to enter into that pact, and he took the witch, and she died in maybe really kind of like an accident, and she was so shocked at seeing the demon that her essence can't leave. I mean, these are all possibilities. We don't know. I would really go with your suggestion and say, let's go to that warehouse where the stuff is stored and look through the stuff. Maybe we find something that speaks to me.
Okay.
And we can try and summon her there. We should make a couple of preparations.
Yes, and I will need to give Liz a lot of money to keep this quiet. Not looking through the stuff, that's the easy one, but if we want to do anything in the warehouse with the stuff, we need to. Well, I'll figure out a way, don't worry about that.
I mean, the next thing is going to be something that's hard for you. But I believe I need both you and Dottie for that. Because
she knows
while
us.
you are in danger from her because she knows you, you also know her.
We do, at least on all of the stuff we found out so far.
We won't bring the sergeant. He's been possessed, he's dangerous.
Honestly, I think he will just faint and collapse if we do this with him.
We will not bring the sergeant. It's too dangerous.
I understand completely. Do you have, like, sisters or friends that can help as well, that know this?
It's interesting
stuff?
that you should choose the word sisters.
I'm, you know, books. And witches that have
You
sisters.
do know that I'm the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter, and that's just not just something that I made up. I do have 6 sisters, and they're all older than me.
The question is if they have the same ability and strength as you. I honestly don't know.
They don't
That's
have the
something
same
you know.
ability, but I'm pretty sure Bridget would be terribly upset if you questioned her strength.
Okay. Note to myself, not question that if I meet her.
Bridget is a nun.
Oh boy. You want to invite a nun to this? Well,
To be honest, sometimes
probably the best
a little
way.
bit of help from above goes a long way.
Well, it definitely will not hurt in this case.
They will be able to help us up front, but when we go in, it'll just be us. Somebody needs to provide the incense, you know.
That definitely sounds like church business.
I know that this must be very strange for you, because I assume you've never done anything like this. You've probably not even ever have anyone tell you your fortune.
Well, I had people reading my hand or tea leaves and telling me a fortune that was so absurdly general that obviously it should happen like this, because there are a lot of people that know to play the people for money. You just need to say the right things and they will always happen in a certain kind of way. So more for, as you say, shits and giggles. And I heard stories about seances and exorcism, but I never really participated in one. And honestly, Dottie, I don't think you did either, did you?
Not even in Catholic school, not even in Catholic school.
Turning around still sounds like a really nice idea, although I couldn't bear my conscience knowing people will die in that house for the next hundreds of years. Well, that thing didn't kill me the first time, so it will not kill me the second time.
That's the spirit. And that's not a pun.
And it will definitely, smiling, not touch Dottie. If it does, it's definitely so dead that it doesn't even know how it happened.
And that is going to be very helpful. Remember that emotion when the time comes.
Anger usually is not a good emotion to have.
In that case, it is. It is
Okay.
what we call righteous anger.
True.
In Catholic school, we say the righteous anger fires the hearts of the saints.
The
And don't forget
vengeance.
the angels.
Yeah, I kind of get the difference. If I am vengeful and angry and wanna, that is the bad anger. Not giving up and protecting someone is the good anger. Okay.
It is. So,
Should we then tomorrow meet up?
we
To
should. I
visit?
think you should call your friend Liz, was it? And inform
Yes.
her. And I will make a couple of preparations. I'm going to see Bridget and get some stuff off of her holy water, and that is actually going to help. Yeah. And prepare Liz. There's going to be chanting, there's going to be candles, and there's going to be drawing on the floor and stuff. So it's all going to look like she would expect it to look if you tell her what's going to happen. But unfortunately, the cliches are correct.
Well, she knows something is off with the items she has. So maybe she's even thankful if we try an exorcism.
This is going to be a first. I've never exercised a piano before.
Well, we don't know if the piano is the right thing. where you feel connected to? Maybe it's something else.
Well, I mean, the piano is... Musical instruments quite often have a close connection with a person's soul, because music speaks to the soul. I mean, the Bible speaks of it, but it is kind of true. I mean, you know what emotions music can cause in people.
Yeah.
It can elate them, it can make them sad. It speaks right to the heart. So it could well be that this piano is just the right thing. I think we should look at it first, and if I don't get any feeling or vibrations from it, we can look at other stuff. But I think the piano should be our first port of call, considering that the mirror is no longer in existence, because that would have been the best thing. I'm not blaming you. I would have done the same thing. Smashing the mirror was and I mean, I'm still very surprised that you could pull it off.
As I said, the mirror was surprisingly easy after this freaking ugly ball.
Still, it shows that you are made of stronger stuff than maybe Isabel thought.
Well,
You opposed a ghost.
the people that know me know I'm quite stubborn. If I want something, I usually get it.
Dottie is trying to not smile and fails.
And that is something I'm quite proud of, because, yeah, stubborn is usually helpful. Not always, but usually. So, okay, preparing. I will talk to Liz tomorrow. We have a lunch day tomorrow. Is it important which time we do the exorcism? Although you told me I should not meet the sergeant.
You're meeting the sergeant.
Yes.
How can you tell it's him?
I will visit him at the station where he always is.
Aha. And what is your plan?
Well, the main idea was to exchange whatever we found out today, which
And
sounds
you
like
can't
a
do it over the phone.
Yes, we can. I proposed lunch, not he. I think.
Maybe you should cancel the lunch. Have a phone conversation instead. Don't tell him what we're about to do. And when all of this is over, let's say 2 days from now, invite him to lunch.
Okay. And then do lunch here. Probably.
Well,
maybe.
do it. You can do it here, or you can do it in a place
Public place.
that is populated.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not go for a private picnic.
Understood.
I mean, maybe even after tomorrow, we will know. Because if it worked, we will be able to tell.
Then I will just tell him the basic stuff that confirms what we already know. So I will just tell him we did not learn much new except what we already know seems to be true, and that's surprisingly all. And I can also tell him that I'm not feeling the fittest after a whole day on my feet, and that I will have to cancel. I think sounds feasible enough for a man to believe in.
That sounds very logical, actually. So,
Then-
all right. So, what we will do is we will meet. I will give you a call tomorrow.
Okay. I will prepare Liz.
You speak to Liz. I think maybe evening time would be best. It's going to be quiet. It's going to be dark. Ghosts do like the dark a lot more than the light. It makes it easier for them to manifest. And then we shall
makes
see
sense.
what we shall see. If we're really lucky and if she really feels threatened, she may even manifest in a way that we can physically assault. Think about something that would make her really angry.
we will come up with a few things.
I have no doubt. But now I really must take my leave because I need to prepare a few things.
Thank you
And she
so
gets
much.
up and she says, that was the best toad in a hole that I've had in a very, very, very long time, and just enough dill in the cucumber salad. And I'll see myself out. Don't get up. And she walks out, puts on
Okay.
her hat. She looks gorgeous, just like you expected, and she walks out and leaves you two alone.
Alice gets up, grabs a bottle of brandy, 2 glasses, puts them on the dinner table between Dottie and me, and she will pour just like really just a sip again. It's not about getting drunk, it's just about calming nerves. And if children is looking, alcohol is not the solution, but sometimes in the old age it helped. And Alice would lean back. It's too late to call Liz, I would guess. If we were already at dinner, she wouldn't be in the store anymore.
Yeah.
So it would be something for the next morning. And honestly, Alice would love to do and speak to her in person and not via the phone. Also, it's too late to call this. Oh, she would try at least. She would, after a drink and a few moments of, oh boy, what have we gotten ourselves into? She would try to call the sergeant, just in case he has a late night shift. We never know. At least she would try to give him a call and see if he's there.
Then make a luck roll, please.
Nope.
You do call the station, but you only reach a minor figure, some officer, and he tells you that the sergeant has gone home for the night.
Can the figure tell me when the sergeant will be back in the office the next day?
At 8 o'clock tomorrow, miss.
Thank you very much and have a quiet evening.
Thank you very much. The same to you, miss.
Thank you. Okay, so next morning, first of all, calling the sergeant, cancelling, and then visiting Liz, the shop.
Okay. So, you call, so it's the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
You have had breakfast. The rise and shine thing today was a little less enthusiastic coming from Dottie. And you call the sergeant.
Yep.
Updike.
Baker.
Oh, Miss Baker, hello. How are you doing?
To be honest, not too well. That's why I'm
Has something happened?
calling. It's just, it was a long day yesterday and we were walking quite a while and
Oh, same.
you know, after hospital, I'm still not the fittest, I have to admit, which is hurtful. But I need to rest today, so I would like to postpone our lunch to a time where I'm feeling better. Also,
of course, Miss Baker.
just to give you a short update, as we discussed, we visited, well, the neighborhood, and we learned nothing new. Basically just confirmation what we can see in the papers. So
I see.
I did the walking for nothing. Well, for practice probably.
Practice makes perfect.
It does. So yeah, as I said again, I'm sorry to cancel on you, but
Don't worry about it.
if it would be D&D, I would so roll an inside roll on this.
Well, what you can do is you can roll psychology.
Yeah, I can roll
That is the same as
psychology via the phone. That's, we'll see. But I know him by now at least a bit. So let's see. And oh boy, that is a critical success. I rolled an 8.
He sounds way too chill about the fact that you're not feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
You would expect him to be a lot more upset by it because he's worried sick about, like if you breathe wrong, he thinks that he needs to apply the Heimlich maneuver ever since he tried to shoot you or did shoot you. There is something wrong.
Well, then I would say I will leave you back to your usual business. And I will give you a call when I feel better.
Quite, Miss Baker, quite.
Thank you so much. And
Not
yeah.
at all.
We'll hear you soon.
Indeed. And he hangs up.
Alice will hang up. We'll take a deep breath. And we'll slowly turn around to Dottie. Dottie, dear. Dottie?
No, Dr. is looking at you.
Okay, I was
I
like...
didn't mean to creep you out. I'm still here. I'm not frozen, and Dottie is fine.
I'm all alone. No one is there anymore. The sergeant is not himself.
And
Alice is looking pale.
we don't have a word to find out, do we?
For us?
For him.
No, we don't. But he was not even worried that I was not feeling well. That doesn't sound
Then
like
it's
him.
definitely not him.
Doesn't sound like him.
But I mean, what does that mean? I mean, is he now someone else, or is he possessed, or are there two of him now? Do you know what?
What?
She never even said what happened to the original, did she? If he's a copy.
Not sure if he's a copy or if he's possessed. Both sound horrible.
What if he is actually dead and that thing just looks like him?
I'm a bit worried for the sergeant and for his family, to be honest. I'm just not sure we can figure it out today.
And already we are thinking about him. And already we are thinking about figuring stuff out. What if it's just trying to get us there to figure stuff out so that it can make a move? We should definitely not do anything.
We have bigger things to do today.
Yeah. Liz's shop opens at 10.
Yes, that is priority. If we survive today, we can see what happens tomorrow. Best case, he's just possessed by Isabel. And then he might be free tomorrow and everything is back to normal and he doesn't even remember. Best case. Let's hope for best case.
Let's hope for best case. Do you want me to call a taxi to go to Liz's place now?
Yes. Well, I will get ready first. Give me like 15 minutes and then we can leave for Liz's place.
Okay, so you leave about 30 minutes later so that you are there for 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually just unlocking the front door. She has pulled up the shutters. You could see that she's doing it from the inside, and she opens the door and she says, "Oh, Miss Baker, that's did we have an appointment? I'm sorry, I don't recall."
No, but we kind of have a surprise jump request for you.
A request? Would you like to buy more and break it? Just joking, sorry.
Well, it might be that we have to break it. Could we just come in?
Of course, please. Where are my manners? Please do step inside.
If when we step inside, I could imagine there's the typical sign of open and closed. Alice would be, don't be angry, she would turn it to closed. It's a sensitive topic. I don't want one of your customers walking in and basically turning around and never coming back. It will not take long, don't worry.
All right, I'm listening.
How do you think about thing like exorcism?
What? I'm sorry, I misheard.
No,
You
you
said
heard
exorcism.
correctly. You know that with these items something is wrong. With all you described, you know this is not normal.
No, I agree. Something's up. I agree. This isn't
And
normal.
things happened in the house where the stuff is coming from, which point to ghost. And I know I sound crazy saying that. I would not believe myself if I talked to myself a few weeks ago. So we would really like to give an exorcism a try. Worst case, things are still haunted and not being sold. Best case, they are just things. And you can sell them. The only thing we would need to make it here with the stuff
In
of
my
the
shop.
house. Well, in the back, obviously, not in the front. So maybe where the piano is, maybe we can make some space and put the stuff there from the house. The piano might obviously be the best option to use. And we would come in the evening, obviously, when your customer's out. During daytime, you will not be bothered. You can do your daily business as always.
Let me get this straight. You want to come to my shop in the back and exercise my piano?
Yes.
Don't.
I will obviously give you money for that.
Don't take this
I know
personally,
it
but that sounds
sounds
really crazy.
I know. The question is, giving it a try will not hurt you. As I said, best case, someone will come in tomorrow and say, the piano's amazing, I want to buy it. And you finally can sell stuff that you're stuck with for ages.
I know this is. I mean, if word gets out.
That's why I sign. You remember what I just did? I know it sounds crazy, and honestly, I don't want anyone to know about this because I will never be able to work as a PI again my whole life because people will think I'm crazy.
All right. All right. You promise me. You promise me.
I will
Regardless
not
of what
to
happens
anyone.
at that exorcism, you will not tell a living or dead soul about this.
I promise the only one knowing about this are we three and the people taking part in the exorcism. Because I am not a professional in exorcism. God.
I'm beginning to find this conversation. I mean, I would never have dreamt of having a conversation where I actually say, yes, please bring in some people to perform an exorcism in the back of my warehouse on my piano. But I'm afraid I'm saying just that.
I can only, if it comes you, say, for me it sounds as absurd as it sounds for you. But at the moment, that's the last option we have.
All right. All
There
right.
are horrible things happening in that house. We need to do something. And we need to give it a try. What we would need, as I said, that we can get in the evening. And it would be probably good if we could have at least the morning after to clean up the, like charcoal marks that we had to make on the floor. We will clean up. You will not see a single thing when we are gone.
Maybe I will just take tomorrow off.
Or take off and I will pay
inventory.
you. And I will pay you for the day that you have obviously losses because you can't sell anything.
Miss Baker, that is not necessary. I just actually, I think I may need to sit down.
Please do so.
And
Maybe have a drink if you have something here.
I can't even believe that I'm saying this, but yes, please do come after 5 o'clock tonight. The place will be yours. I hope that I am not needed because I would really like to be far, far away from this place.
You would just need to let us in.
Oh, I will hand you the key and you can lock up.
Oh, that's fine as well. So just let us in, and you are. We definitely don't want you around because anyone around that is not involved might probably be in danger. So if you have people working here, send them home, please.
Thankfully, it's just myself.
And again, I know it sounds crazy, and I swear we will not talk about this after tomorrow to anyone. It never happened. The only thing we two talked about is about a beautiful cane I bought from you and I'm carrying around every day proudly.
At the mention of the cane, she looks to your side. She sees you're carrying the cane, and there is a slight smile in her eyes.
That is the main thing we will talk about, and maybe talking about future canes to extend my beautiful collection. And that is something we can happily talk about and other people can know about.
That sounds like a plan. So, all right, then I will see you tonight at 5 o'clock, and I will
Thank
hand over
you
the keys, and I will leave you to it.
so much.
And with this, we will close today's session because I've got an exorcism to prepare.
Oh God, I'm not ready to do an exorcism at this time of day or the next session, but let's
We
do
will
it.
see what we will see.
Thank goodness her power
I mean,
is
this
so
is
low.
now the 5th part, and
Yeah.
it's actually turning a lot more into an investigation than I was hoping for. So this is going quite well.
Oh wow.
We thank you all for watching or listening to this podcast. Like, subscribe, become a Patreon or patron, I should say, on Patreon, and we will see you shortly with more from Alice Baker. Actually,
Bye.
one direction this way. Bye.